Everybody, Tony D and Little Joan here with a screenwriter's rant, I guess you would call it, about how the sausage is made in the movie industry. And I may have done this one before or a similar video about this topic, which is a bit meta, but I'll try to get into it. So smash like and subscribe. Thank you for smash liking and subscribing. This keeps Little Joan in treats, right, Little Joan? Right, Little Joan? You know, we have to get you treats. Give Little Joan treats. You don't want my little dog to starve, do you? You can check out our other videos on Bitchute and Rumble. Today we have a special screenwriter's rant that's only on Bitchute and Rumble, and a news blast, and of course links in the description to my various books, including Hollywoke, another novel about the movie industry, and of course the Pineys, comedy horror in South Jersey, books 1 through 6. Book 7 coming this month. Now, how the sausage is made. The reason I want to talk about this is I get a lot of pushback sometimes from people who go, how can you say that about this movie or that movie? Look, I get it. People are very passionate about the movies and TV shows they like, and you get one little thing wrong and people have a conniption, or you say something about something they really like. Look, I get it, but here's the perspective I'm coming from, and I would explain it like this. Oh, that damn bug. If you for instance, you work in let's say making food, and you spend all day making food. When you come home at night, probably the last thing you want to do is make yourself food. Simply because you're around it all day and whatever. Same thing if you work all day on a computer. You know, maybe at the end of the day when you want to unwind, you really don't want to be looking at a computer. You'd rather go out or do whatever. When you work in, whether it's movies, comic books, video games, whatever, when you get home at night, the video games and the comics and the movies or whatever you're into, in terms of your work, take on a different meaning after a while. And it's hard to describe unless you've been there. So, for instance, when I got into comics, I was really into comics. Like, I bought all kinds of comics. And then after I got into publishing and going to conventions and whatnot, I just stopped reading them. Because partly I didn't have the time, but partly it was the comics took on a different meaning. When you see how the sausage is made behind the scenes, the comics, the stuff means different things to you. And you can see things that regular fans just cannot see. Regular fan, look, I'm in a discussion about the Many Saints of Newark, right, with a guy who's obviously a big fan of The Sopranos, and he's like, "Oh, you're not a fan. And I'm not trying to get on him. Don't yell at him, whatever. But it's different. I've been writing mafia-related stuff. I wrote Complete Mafia for D20. I've had one mafia screenplay produced. I've got a few others written. It is different once you've been down that road. Like I don't just have ones written for myself. I've written at least 2 or 3 for clients over the years. And look, everybody who writes their own screenplay, a lot of times, especially clients, they think they're going to recreate The Godfather. Almost every single time. They all fall into that pattern because, you know, part of it is they just want the movie to be good and they want to make a lot of money. Part of it is everybody drives them to that trope. And it's very hard. I worked for a guy, you know, he was a producer, and I could talk to him, convince him of what we needed to do, but if he talked to anybody else about the same ideas, he'd change his mind in a heartbeat. He just had no ability to say no to people in that area. And he was very easily talked into a bunch of stuff for his project that he didn't need, probably, in my view. And look, you can look at all my stuff and all my videos and say, you're wrong. It's just the way it is. People have different opinions. Art is subjective, but there is something that people who work in these realms see that you don't if you're just a fan. You don't see it. You just don't. I been on movie sets and worked in various projects at different levels, and one of the things you'll probably never see if you're just a fan of movies is you'll never see when they start a project how every department within the movie grabs all the money they can. That's just the thing that always happens, right? You're working on a movie, let's say it's finance, it's a low budget movie, it's a couple of $100,000, maybe it's $2 million, something like that. That's all low budget, by the way. There's not unlimited funds, and every department in that movie wants to do well, and there's also people always on a movie, they're just greedy a-holes. They're just grabbing the money with both hands. And a lot of times, I worked on a project where the some of the crew weren't getting paid that well, and part of the I believe it was one of the cinematographer asked the producer to buy him a new like these China lanterns they use for lighting sometimes. They weren't super expensive, but he got to keep them. And that's the kind of thing, all that kind of stuff happens on a movie set all the time. And people do all sorts of things. They blow money on nothing, There are people who are they're just greedy. They'll just grab that money if they can. They'll give it to their friends. They'll buy themselves equipment. They'll give it to some hot chick that they want to have sex with. I've seen horrible things happen on the movie set. Now, does that mean it happens to all of them? No. But there's really no rules on a movie set. And once you've sort of been in that world and realize how crazy it is sometimes, you wonder how movies get made at all. There are some guys who literally work on movies only to get the money. They do not care if the movie is ever finished. I've seen those guys. They'll suck the money out of your production. And they do not care if it crumbles beneath your feet. That's your problem. As long as they get their money, they'll walk away and are on to the next, project that they can parasitically drain money from. So there are all this is all an undercurrent in the industry. Sometimes at higher levels with union people, it's not as bad, but it's still there. In a big time union shoot, you have craft services, right? And that's an expense. Well, people will abuse that, right? Now, yes, you need to feed people on a set, but sometimes people get on the set, they don't belong there. They're friends of whomever, and they're there for the day to check out the movie set, and they'll eat the food, and that's more cost to the movie. And you might say, oh, that's no big deal. Well, it adds up. It adds up. If everybody in the movie brings their friend on one day, that's a lot of people. That's hundreds of people bringing their friends. That's hundreds of people, hundreds of free meals. That's all charged to the movie. You wonder why these things cost so much money, and it's a union gig, and those craft services are getting top dollar, and they have vegetarian options and all kinds of things. All stuff has to be refrigerated, and they have to buy extra because you can't run out of things. This is all stuff that gets added to the movie. This is why these movies cost so much money. And I don't blame some of these people for trying to get as much money as they can on a job. Sometimes you don't work steadily in the movie industry. So if you're lucky to work 1 or 2 times a year, you might try to squeeze a few extra bucks out of your gig in order to survive until the next one. Even if that means just taking home some of the props, to some of the furniture that was used that, we were supposed to return it, but we never did, and I kept it for my apartment. Happens all the time, especially a lower budget movie where there's not a lot of accountability. Again, the director may just say, F it, go ahead and keep it, or whatever. Or the producer, or whoever gets to make that call. So there are things you see in a movie that indicate certain things. So in the case of the Many Saints of Newark, I can see the very expensive shot of the riot in Newark in that period of time. It's a very expensive shot, no matter how you cut it. Even if the whole thing's CGI, it's still expensive. CGI still costs money. It costs thousands of dollars a minute. You have to render the period piece, cars, the fire, the background. It has to look realistic. People might have to walk through it. So it's not easy. It is not easy. On top of the fact that you have to have a coherent and entertaining story and get good performances, get good sound and lighting. Okay? And it's very easy for these crews and people to get caught up in the wrong thing. Okay? I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen in a movie where they get caught up in how something looks. Just because the director is, he's just caught up in that. He doesn't care about the story all that much. I've worked I haven't worked on a lot of movies, but the movies I worked on, things happen. There was a case where a director asked for a scene. Well, actually, the producer asked for this scene, which was written specifically in the movie, because the producer asked for it, because they thought they had a secret passage shot in this particular house they were shooting in. They didn't get the house, but they kept the scene. So then they had to fake that particular scene of it was a secret passage. They didn't have the secret passage, so then they faked it. And you could watch the movie and tell me whether or not you think they faked it well or not. I'm not going to say, but it's something that happens. So when you see something in the movie that doesn't make sense, a lot of times it was because of something like that. They had this idea. Part of it got cut, but the rest of it stayed in for some reason, because nobody was there to edit it out, or maybe they needed a snippet of dialogue to make the rest of the movie come together. And they just can't. They don't have the money to go back and reshoot. On that same movie, they had to go back and reshoot a bunch of pickups just to make the movie make sense. The editor had to fix that movie, and he did. And everybody on the crew complimented him, because he had gone back and said, I cannot put this movie together. You didn't shoot half the scenes that are in the screenplay, but here are our list of fixes. If you shoot all this, I can edit the movie to make it make sense. And they did, and well, at least the movie makes sense from beginning to end to a large degree. It would have been messed up a lot worse if he hadn't done that. So that's not an excuse. That's just the reality of movie making. The money runs out. People screw up. People get caught up in things. They blow the money on scenes that are unimportant, and then they get to the important scenes and they have no money left. And they still have to finish the movie. You don't know what that's like. So when you see stuff like that in a big time movie that has practically an unlimited budget, let's be honest. The Many Saints of Newark, first off, it's already a part of a franchise called The Sopranos, which was wildly successful. I can see the money in this movie. I can see it. It's high end. Everything about it is high end. And so when I say it's overproduced, I'm comparing it to the original Sopranos, which wasn't overproduced. Because when they started The Sopranos, it wasn't this major thing. It wasn't a major brand. They were just shooting a TV show. They didn't know if it was going to be a hit. It wasn't a hit then. It was a hit later, like, I don't know, midway through the first season maybe. Not even. And at that point, they started pouring money into it. Because they're like, we got a hit. And that's the way TV and movies work. Suddenly you got a hit, they start pouring in the money. Pouring it in. Because if you know you're going to make, $100 million, and your original budget is $500,000, you realize, well, we're going to make $100 million. Why are we only spending $500,000? whatever you need. And they'll easily triple, quadruple, by many multiples, they'll give you more money because they know they're going to make $100 million. And understand too that on a lower budget production, everybody involved is getting paid less. And the moment you have a hit, everybody asks for more money. Just about. I mean, there's certain people who can't really ask for more money, right? There's advantages and disadvantages of being in the crew. So being in a movie crew, you have to get paid 99% of the time. Unless it's a real low budget movie. But crew work is, you're always going to have to pay the crew something. You're always going to have to pay, the big players. Actors in a low budget movie, sometimes they don't even get paid. They're doing it for exposure. They're doing it for their career. They're doing it so, I'll be a lead. Same thing sometimes with the director. Well, I'm doing it because I'm going to get a director's credit. I'm not really going to make any money on this. I knew a guy, he shot a movie. They gave him $5,000. They said, here's $5,000. Shoot this movie. You need X amount of minutes. I guess it was 85. If you shoot that, whatever's left of the $5,000 you can keep. And that was his deal. And because of that, and he spent every penny, of course. He didn't make any money. And then some. But because of that, he got a director's credit, which is what he wanted. His first real director's credit. And that's an important thing in the world of movie making. That first director credit means you can get another. Without that first credit, it's a lot harder to get your first director credit. It's the same way with screenwriters. You get your first screenwriting credit, that's a big deal. Now, there are people who will pay you money. Now, maybe they don't pay you a lot, but they'll pay you more than if you have no credits. That's a big leap. Then the next step is to get a hit or a union gig. Either one. Once you get a hit, you become a name brand, and then you're always getting paid. For crew guys, it's more about getting in a union, right? If they get in a union, they'll always be paid. They'll always be paid a certain rate. It's a good rate. They're still not going to work steadily, but they always get X amount of dollars. It's never going to be lower than that unless sometimes there are special things they could do. They accept work that's lower pay for whatever reason, but for the most part, that's the difference between, say, crew and actors. Actors sometimes will work for free in several movies just to gain enough credit so, they get enough exposure so they can get work in a real film. But then, once they get to a level where they're in the union, then they get a minimum amount. And then they need special dispensation to appear in a low-budget thing where maybe they're not going to get a union rate. And once you become a brand, it kind of doesn't matter, right? Once you become a brand name, someone like, Mickey Rourke, at one point, his career has gone up and down. At one point, I put together a project with a friend of mine, and the proposal was, and this is prior to The Wrestler, we wanted Mickey Rourke to be the bad guy. So we pitched him as the bad guy because we felt he was a really good actor. He hadn't been in anything for a while, and he'd probably do it at that time. And then The Wrestler came out, and well, his price went through the roof. Now, one could argue that his price probably gone down to something more reasonable, but that's how you get name brand people, and that's kind of how it works. So for, some of these movies, you can tell when they're a big payday. I got flack for The Harder They Fall. That's another big payday. I can tell because the costuming is amazing in that trailer. The credit sequence, everything about that movie looks sweet. It looks effing sweet. So you could tell they spent some real money on the movie. They didn't skimp. There are cases in which a low budget movie will, exceed expectations and have such great costuming it looks like a full budget movie, but that's rare. That's very rare. That is a high-end movie. I could tell by the soundtrack, the costuming, the credits, the actors. They're all name actors. So, that and when you're judging movies in film criticism, you can't judge a low-budget shoestring thing like Clerks by the same metric you do of a movie like Star Wars, or I would say the Star Wars prequels, let's say, where they had insane amounts of money. It's not the same. When you have insane amounts of money, there's really no excuse for the movie to be bad. There's just not. They had all the time and energy and money in the world, all access to all the talent, everything you possibly need. The only, where some movies fall short, it all comes back to writing. There's absolutely no excuse for bad writing if you have all the money in the world, in my view. Whereas in a low budget movie, I can kind of forgive certain things because sometimes it's just beyond the budget of the movie to even do it, to even do the smartest thing. Some movies have such low budget you can't even have a character shoot someone. It just won't look good, and you can't do it, and you have to come up with creative ways around it. The best movies are just seamless, in that area. Some low budget movies are that seamless. You watch the movie and it's great. It's like a regular movie, and then at the end of it, you find out they shot it for nothing, and you realize, holy cow, what great direction. And sometimes you see a movie like Zombievers, thinking it's just going to be a total, throwaway movie, and realize, wow, this screenplay's pretty solid. All the characters had their own voice, and it wasn't. It was engaging for as dumb as the subject matter was. And there were twists and turns, and it wasn't a bad flick. But fans, not all fans can judge that. If you've never seen a Western before, and you watch The Harder They Fall, you'll probably think it's the greatest movie you've ever seen. The greatest Western you've ever seen, certainly. But if you've seen a movie like Unforgiven, I mean, you compare it to a movie, or even Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, or, there's some great, great Westerns. And part of what's great is it endures. It stands the test of time. And that's another factor in all this. If you've been around long enough, you can kind of see what stands the test of time. There were Westerns, Westerns that were all black cast. There have been mafia movies, To Beat the Band, all kinds of crazy movies. It's very rare that you see a movie, wow, that's totally unique. I've never seen a movie like this. So, you can kind of gauge the ones that are long-term after you've seen enough. But for the average fan, somebody who doesn't even watch movies all that often, whatever, even a movie that's totally derivative of every other movie you've seen, a movie, in my view, like Avatar. To me, Avatar is derivative of every sci-fi movie just about ever made. But if you don't really see sci-fi movies and you see Avatar, you may think, oh, wow, this is really good. This is a really good movie. But if you've seen every movie that it's based on, then you kind of go, well, it's derivative. It looks good, but it's very derivative. Or, even with Star Wars. Star Wars was derivative of The Seventh Samurai and Lord of the Rings, and, So if you were steeped in all that and then you saw Star Wars, you might not be that impressed by it. The only thing that would impress you is, wow, people certainly love this movie. And that was made at a time when people didn't see that kind of stuff. So it also, the timing is a factor too. We live in a world with constant content. Next week there'll be something way better coming down the pike. Trust me. It's very rare you're going to get a film that's like, wow, this is different, because they just don't greenlight those. And that's another behind the scenes thing. When you're talking to business people want to know their investment is a sound one. That's it. And the only way you could show that in the movie industry is by making a movie they already understand. So they understand what a mafia movie is. And then if you add on top of that, well, it's a mafia movie based on an insanely popular franchise, well, they can't write you a check fast enough. If you pitch them a mafia movie, but it's very different because of X, Y, and Z, they start to get antsy. They start to go, well, do people really want to see that? I mean, wasn't The Godfather popular? Can't you make it more like The Godfather? I mean, people make money through movies. They actually will sit there and change stuff because they think it's going to be more popular and therefore make them on money. I've been in those meetings. They're maddening. Most people haven't been in those movies where you come up with a great idea for a scene that's never been done before that you're in love with, and you pitch it, or they say, well, what is this scene? And they just want to do the same thing that's been done in 10 other movies because they think that's what the audience wants. That's what you don't see, the sausage being made. Anyhow, I could keep going on, but I've gone on long enough. That's it for me, Tony D, and Little Joan. So we will see you tomorrow. Make sure you check out our videos on Bitchute and Rumble.